Hello, everybody. Tracy Mrs. JDog Flanagan here with you today. I'm the co-founder and senior vice president of JDog Brands, and I would like to welcome you to Tactical Treasures, a podcast sharing the stories of veterans and military family members that have been impacted by specific items in their lives. I will be interviewing voices in the veteran space about objects and moments that they turned into tactical treasures for their military career, business, or life. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Amy Shick. Amy is a military spouse of 27 years, mother of 3 teens, and is preparing for their family's 13th PCS move to Germany this summer, 2022. Amy has maximized the Army lifestyle through real estate investing and entrepreneurship. And hello, Amy. Welcome. I'm so pleased to be speaking with you. And
Yes, hello, Tracy.
yeah, and it's kind of, I think, interesting how we met. I think I connected with you on LinkedIn,
Yes,
and I think you then reached out to me, and you were starting a business, and
yes,
you asked for some advice, and I said, I'd love to help. So we got on a call, and I guess the rest is all history, right?
yes, it is. Thank you so much. I really appreciated that call and just the experience that you shared with me and the advice and just kind of a peek behind the curtains,
Mm,
at growing a business, from the beginning to franchises all across the nation, right?
yeah,
There's been a lot of work in JDog, that's for sure.
definitely. So, um, so do you still have that business, or I don't think you do, but what are you doing
Yeah.
now?
I actually ended up closing the business for a couple reasons. It was a great MVP to test the concept. And I had a lot of fun doing it. I learned so much. I taught myself how to build a platform using no code technology or low code, which is something I had never done before. And that was interesting, and I learned a lot. But there are a lot of dynamics within the industry, the food delivery industry right now,
Mm,
that just made it not worth the while. I wasn't going to be able to make enough money off the business in order to scale it.
mm.
And then now, fast forward, 6 months, with gas prices and inflation, it's probably best that I did close when I did because it would make everything even more difficult, to sustain the business.
Right, right. So, what are you doing now?
So now, well, quite a few things. We had bought another investment property in Tampa, Florida. And so I'm actually in the process of screening prospective tenants to get long term tenants in there. And then the house that we live in now in Washington, I am turning into a short term rental when we leave for Germany this summer.
Mhm.
So I'm learning a lot about short term rentals and the platforms to be used and just the process to be successful with a short term furnished rental. So
Mm.
yeah, I'm excited.
That it sounds exciting. So, this is your 13th PCS.
Yeah, I know. It doesn't seem possible, does it? Like,
But I spoke to another spouse too. I think it was Jamie Chapman. I interviewed her last season on Tactical Treasure. She was my first podcast, and sh-
yeah,
she
she's awesome.
she as a MilSpouse and veteran herself, she had the same experience. I think they did close to 13 PCSs. It was crazy.
Yes, and I remember I think it was during the pandemic or right before, she was moving from Germany back to the
Mhm.
States.
Yeah.
And I think she was either 9 months pregnant or with a newborn. I mean, it was just
Yeah.
insane. So, yeah, we do these things and we kind of wonder at the time how we're going to get everything accomplished, but everything does get done. And, we get to the new duty station and we set up house and start our lives. And it's just what we do.
Yeah. I I'll tell you, military spouses, you guys, my hats are off to you. It's amazing what you go through, and what you have to do, and you just do it, and all in support of, your husband and deployment and the military community at large. I mean, it's just amazing, amazing.
Well, it definitely is a lifestyle. It's not just a career for your service member
Sure.
spouse.
Mhm.
It really, like, the whole family needs to be invested in it. I mean,
Yeah.
to really get out of it the most that you can is to really invest yourself. And our kids have grown up with such a different mindset, with all these moves and all the events that they've gone to and that they've helped me with over the years.
Mhm.
And they definitely have a service and a servant um, mindset, that helping others
Right.
is just something you do. It's just
Yeah.
part of life.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. The way you look at it and what you've instilled in your children. Because really the whole family serves, truly. Um, so I think this is a great segue into your treasure that you'll be sharing with us today. So tell me about it. I'm excited to hear about it.
So it was during our, let's see, I think our third deployment. And I don't even know who I can attribute to this little nugget that I picked up. But it really has been kind of like my underlying motto for everything that I do. And that is changing one word, and it's from have to get. And it's amazing how changing that one word completely changes your perspective or attitude on anything that you take on. And that is, I get to serve my military community instead of I have to serve my military
Mm,
community, or I get to go to parent teacher conferences, right? Like, I am the one that gets to do these things. I have been chosen, for this particular thing, instead of saying I have to do this. Because as soon as you say I have to do this, it sounds like a burden. But when you say I get to do this, it turns into an opportunity. And so I feel like that little thing has been something that has carried me through. And it's also something that it helps me stay as productive and as I am, and to accomplish as much as I can in such a short amount of time, is because I have that attitude of I get to do this. Like, I like, that's pretty lucky, right? Like,
yeah.
there's a lot of things that if you don't have anything to do, it's where's the purpose in life, right? And
Right.
so when you get to do something for someone else, and even for yourself, it completely changes the mindset. That's helped me a lot.
Yeah. I think it definitely goes along with the fact that words are very, very powerful, right?
Mhm.
And, I think a lot of us could think about the way we use our words that are productive as opposed to not being productive or even being
Mhm.
detrimental. It when you think about it, how you deal with other people, the words that you use, and even the words that you say to yourself can
Oh,
really, really
yes.
make a difference and impact how you approach every situation in life, no matter what it is. Yeah, positivity and positive words are a powerful thing, definitely. Um, so since, I mean, you've been, let's see, you're a military spouse of 27 years, right?
Mhm.
So I am sure that you have a lot of tips and just advice that you could give maybe, spouses who have been in for a long time and been a mill spouse, and maybe they're just tired, or maybe it's a new wife that is a mill spouse and they're trying to navigate this new world. What advice or tips could you share?
So something, and it's actually been on my mind a lot lately because we are winding down my husband's time in command. And I have been the senior advisor for the family readiness group for his battalion. And, there's times that you just, not that you get burned out, but you just get a little tired,
Mm,
right?
yeah,
And you feel like you don't have the same momentum or the same, motivation, right? And so the thing that I remind myself in those times is this is going to pass like everything else in life.
mm,
So when I look back at this time, do I want to say, oh, yeah, well, I really just kind of quit or lost my motivation halfway through. And I wish I would have stayed strong and, stayed the course with as much energy as I started it. And so that's the thing that motivates me is when I look back at this time, um, am I going to remember it feeling proud that, I crossed that finish line with as much energy as I had? Or am I going to look back and feel regretful? And so that's something that I try to keep in mind because everything passes. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end to everything. And in this military life, there's a beginning, middle, and an end, but it's just so much faster than everything else in life. And
true.
so it's just keeping up with it. And so I guess I would say, I promise if you just keep your energy up, um, you will be so happy that you did, because then when you look back, you won't look back with any regrets, and you will look back and be so proud, and also just, you'll have joy, that comes from that experience, instead of feeling bad like you let somebody down or you let yourself down. So
Yeah.
that's probably what I would say. And then I guess the other thing would be, you get as much out of it as you put into it. And it really doesn't matter if you are at a premier unit or you are at a location that you don't particularly care for. If you dive in and invest yourself into either that location or that job or that role, you will get so much more out of it for yourself than you ever thought possible. And you also keep in mind that it's a small world. So if you do a good job for someone or you make an impact on someone's life, I promise that later down the road, it will come back to you. That person will thank you, or, a job offer will come about because of the work that you did somewhere else. Everything is kind of cyclical. And so it's just putting in that energy and putting in that effort for yourself and for the other people that you're working with or volunteering with.
Right. I definitely agree with you. And I think that that's the same way in every situation and everything in your life, whether it's your career or business or a relationship, you get back exactly what you put in. And you never know what you put in that's really valuable is going to be valuable to somebody else. You never know whose
Mhm.
life you're going to touch in a positive way. Definitely. So, with your very many 13
I know.
PCSs, um, what kind of advice would you give, I guess, to mill spouses or military families that are struggling with deployments and multiple PCSs?
So we have had a lot of deployments and PCSs, and part of it is just my husband's been in for so long now. So you start to accumulate um, these experiences just with time themselves. But and it does, there are times where you go to a location and you don't particularly like that location in the beginning, or you love that location but you don't get to stay as long as you wish you had stayed. um, so now, speaking from my experience, we've been to JBLM twice, we've been to Fort Benning 3 times, And then this will be our second time to Germany. So I promise you that there are going to be more opportunities to be in locations that you love, or to be at locations that you have to put a little bit more effort into loving. But just really living in the present, and taking advantage from the day you step foot into that new location, really diving in. Don't waste a lot of time, to get your bucket list done at that location, and just enjoy everything you can, because you know that you're going to be leaving, right? Either it's 2 years, 3 years. Um, I focus on 2 years because that's been our time frame.
Mhm.
And so if we get anything longer, I consider it a bonus. If we get anything less than that, then I just consider it an opportunity to love my next location. So yeah, I think just being in the present is probably uh, the the most important thing. And then also not sweating the small stuff. Things are not going to be perfect. And the furniture that fit in one house won't fit in the other house. But letting
Right.
go of those things and attachment to those types of things allows you to just kind of be a little bit more free and not stress about things that you have very little control over, if
Right.
any control over.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, these are all fabulous little nuggets and little tips to take away, and I'm sure would make even me, a civilian, or a MilSpouse, just kind of change their perspective and how they look at things and how they look at their lives or careers just in general. Um, so real estate. So how did you go about that? Is that something that you did during all these deployments and PCS changes? Did you get your real estate license or?
So I actually do not have my real estate license. It is something that once Jason retires and we're no longer moving, like we're running from the law, I would love to become a realtor in one place.
Uh-huh.
So I grew up and my grandmother was a realtor and she had rental properties. And then also my parents, at different times in our lives, also had rental properties. And my parents are very much DIY people. So growing up, we were always taking apart a deck, putting in a patio, painting the house,
Wow.
taking down wallpaper. I mean, you name it. And my parents used us kids as labor. But what it also taught us is that, you can improve, anything, right? It just takes some elbow grease and a little bit of money and some vision. And so my husband and I, when we bought our first place, um, we lived there just for less than 2 years. And then that's when he went back into or not back into the army, but back into the army this time. And we sold it. And so that property, uh, I guess, profit from that house helped us buy our house at our first duty station at JBLM. And when we left, I just thought, I want to rent it. I want to keep it. Now that we have it, it takes so much work to get real estate, right? It's a long process.
Right.
And it's also expensive. So once you
Mhm.
have it, um, it's hard to acquire and easy to sell. So I didn't want to do that. I wanted to hang on to it. So that's how we started with our first rental in 2006. And then we came back from Germany and had a short stint at Fort Benning, and then went to Fort Polk and bought another house. And we just, once you learn that buying a house is really not as stressful as it is the first or second time you do it, and that you can rent that house and you can provide a place for someone else to live, and then that house then turns into an investment. And so we just started acquiring properties, at each duty station. And then when we would leave, we would rent them out. A lot of times what we were doing is we were buying the a house that was below our price range and that was in a great area but needed to be fixed up and needed some renovation. So we basically for about 8 years we lived in properties that we were renovating at the same time.
Oh
So
gosh.
it was a lot of evenings and a lot of weekends and a lot
Yeah.
of runs to Home Depot at 9 o'clock at night before they close. And it's also something that has kept me busy while Jason was deployed. And
Sure.
I would just, tile a backsplash, or I would fix a patio, or
Wow.
I would take down wallpaper and prime the walls and paint. So
Right.
we just started doing that. And then we saw, that this could, really contribute to our investments and our retirement, and use the lifestyle of moving every 2 years as a way to diversify the real estate portfolio and also opportunities to buy. So that's pretty much how we've gotten started.
Yeah, that's great idea. So if I ever want to get a rental property, you're the first person I'm calling.
Yes,
So you
yes.
can help me.
Like, and as you go on, you learn so much. And of course, sometimes it's trial and error, and you learn things the hard way. But then nowadays, there's so much education and opportunity at our fingerprints. Um, and so I've learned so much, and I've joined, like bigger pockets, and learned from other military spouses and other families, as to ways that they use real estate and that they have invested in real estate. And so it's a continual process. You're always learning, but there is something really exciting about searching for a house and then buying it, and either living in it and then renting it, or either buying it just to rent it. There's something very satisfying about providing housing for somebody,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so I really enjoy it. And so we really haven't had too many problems, knock on wood. But it's been good for us, and I've really enjoyed it.
That's great. That's great. So, moving September this summer, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh,
Yes.
that's great. Do you have any idea how long you're going to be there?
Well, it sounds like about 2 years is how long we'll be there. And it's since we're in Washington State, and it takes about 8 to 12 weeks to get our shipment over to Germany. It's one of the reasons why we've decided to leave this house as a short-term furnished rental. Part of it also is the timing in our lives. We have one child in college, and then we've got another child that will be going to college. So to move an entire house full of furniture when there's only going to be three of us
Right.
also doesn't make a lot of sense.
Mm,
And um, in the area that we're in right now at JBLM, there's like a housing crisis. And so there's a lot of times families are waiting sometimes 2 or 3 months before they even get into a house. So this way, we're
wow.
just, providing an opportunity
Mm,
where they can have a comfortable place, for them and their kiddos while they wait 2 or 3 months, instead of being, like 4 or 5 people in a hotel room for a very
sure.
long time.
Yeah.
It's really difficult when you are that way. So
Yeah.
um so I'm excited. This is definitely something new. I've not had a short-term rental before. So I've been learning as much as I can over the past couple months. So
Oh, that's great. That's great. Great idea to do that. And I'm sure a family who moves in will greatly appreciate um, living in your house until theirs is ready. That's a great idea.
yeah, I mean, if everything works out as planned, it will go very smoothly. But that doesn't always isn't always the case. But we do love this house, and this is a house that we would like to come back to and retire in,
Mm,
at some point,
yeah.
or at least have it as an option to retire in. And my husband is getting up there in those years. So, I mean, he may have, 3 more years or 8 more years in the Army. We just don't know.
Mm.
But based on the market, it is kind of nice to have a property that we would really like to come back to in a location that we love too.
Yeah.
So it also
Yeah.
serves some purpose for us as well.
Definitely. Definitely having a long-term plan like that is good. So if people want to follow what's going on with you, where can they find you?
So I guess the best place would be LinkedIn. For now, it's
Okay.
probably the platform that I am most active on. Which again is another platform that I learn so much on. So I've really appreciated all the advice and expertise and all the connections that I've been able to, or people I've been able to connect with on
Hmm.
LinkedIn. It's been great.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. LinkedIn is a good place. Well, Amy, it has been such a pleasure speaking with you. Good luck to you and your family as you make your move this summer. And I'm excited to see what the future brings for you.
Thank you so much, Tracy. And thank you so much for having me on the podcast. It was so great to catch up and chat with you again, which I'm sure we'll do again in the future. But
Yeah,
I just really appreciated the opportunity.
yeah, well, I'm glad you decided to come on. And I think you and I are definitely a good plug for what can happen on LinkedIn, right? You never know.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And just the other thing, too, is that the military community on LinkedIn, the entrepreneur community, the transition community is just very active and so welcoming.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
Hmm.
it's been really great. And I've really appreciated
Yeah.
you, Tracy, and I love following JDog and just it's been amazing to see all the growth and everything. It's been great.
Yeah, we're really excited. We're really excited what's going on here at JDog. Definitely. I love what I do every day.
Good, good. I love that. It shows. It really does show that you guys love it.
Oh, thank you. Well, you take care.
You too. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.